Hey everybody, welcome back to a different sort of video today. I'm going to be talking about how I would make a sequel to an underrated franchise, and that is Rayne.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Now, I know a lot of people don't really know or are not familiar with the Rayne series, but if you guys like vampires, if you guys like action, if you guys like a funny but also sexy and badass character, then this is the series for you. Now, obviously, Rayne has been a complicated series, going through many iterations. The first game was more of an action-adventure, with clunky controls, but also great elements as well. The second game leaned more into the hack-and-slash genre. The most recent prequel game was more of a side-scrolling adventure that divided fans, leaving the gaming franchise in an uneasy state where we do not know if we're ever going to get a third game in the series. Because there is plenty of story that you can actually tell, expanding on the lore of Rayne herself and also her father, but also her siblings and the different vampires that you have to face throughout the entirety of the franchise. And the second game in the series actually set up that we would have the villains being the organization that tried to hire Rayne in the first place. That is something that the original studio behind Rayne was originally preparing for the third game. But because of financial issues and a lot of things happening, the series has fell through the cracks, and I feel like a third game could finally give us a proper finale and also merge all the things that we love about the series into one proper game. Starting with the story. Now, getting into the overall story, my pitch would be following a similar plotline from what was set up from Rayne 2, with Kagan being dead and the city for the taking for other vampire overlords. Obviously, it would be an overall conflict between vampires, vampire factions, humanity, and also the organization Brimstone. It would be an all-out war on multiple fronts, vampires fighting other vampires to take control over the city, and regular humans being caught in the middle, and Brimstone trying to eradicate anything vampiric at all, including targeting Rayne herself. Now, I'm not very good at naming things, but this game would be called Rayne 3 The Dark Ages, or Rayne 3 The Dark Age, but I don't really know. Now, Rayne herself would be the #1 target on all sides, from humanity, from Bloodstone, and also her vampiric brethren, for many reasons. Obviously, for her killing her own kind, but also for her killing one of their leaders. Now, Rayne herself would be struggling with her own identity, being a product of both worlds, humanity and also vampires, seeing and actually fighting against the evil that destroyed her mother and her family, but killing her father has not really truly brung her peace. It's only added on to her misery by unleashing a darkness that she can't truly stop. This conflict would unravel her psyche in many ways, and you would actually discover more about her past, basically connecting the dots and actually making certain characters that have died in the previous games, like her adoptive father, actually have more weight than what they originally did. And Rayne at certain points would be struggling with her two different sides of herself, her vampiric nature, but also her humanity, and choosing whether or not to give in to one side of herself or the other, and also trying to resolve this conflict that she herself unleashed by killing her father. This game would also explore the past of her father and also give us a better history of her mother as well, and better insight in the dichotomy of the vampire's lore in this universe, because now we have more powerful enemies that we have to fight. And speaking of, let's actually get into gameplay and combat. Let's start off with gameplay first, and then we'll get into combat and other mechanics later. The gameplay will be pulling elements from the previous 3 games. The level and mission structure will be taking elements from Rayne 2 and also Rayne 1, where obviously it's going to be a little bit of an action-adventure mixed with a hack-and-slash, with some Darksiders 1 and Devil May Cry 3 elements thrown in there when it comes to the mission structure, where some of the story missions are interconnected to like a mini open world and stuff like that. Getting into your actual gameplay, obviously Rayne would probably be a lot more smoother to play now, taking a little bit from Catwoman, Bayonetta, and also Marvel Spider-Man when it comes to her acrobatic abilities and how she can move around, having acrobatic and also parkour style puzzles. Being able to wall run would be an interesting new ability, and also being able to air dash among other things, and also grinding on wires and objects would be an interesting focus as well, pulling a little bit from Infamous and also Ninja Gaiden 4. Speaking speaking of, actually similar to that game with the swinging mechanics, you do have your chain that you can use not just in your combat, but also in your traversal to grapple to key points and also to chain together different swinging and also various other things. You can even use it to launch enemies towards you or to objects, but you can also use your chains to grapple towards enemies, close the distance, and extend combos. Also, this game would have a lot of traversal and also combat puzzles that challenge you in fairly unique ways. Another aspect of your gameplay outside of combat is your special abilities, and some of them are going to be returning from the previous games, but they will be slightly tweaked on how you can actually access them and use them. Blood Rage, being your rage mechanic that actually deals more damage, will operate very similar to a Devil Trigger meter or how God of War 3 handled the rage mechanic. How you fill this bar up is tied to your combat as a whole. The better you do in combat and the more gruesome kills you get, it starts to slowly fill up this bar. Once the bar is full, you can actually activate your Blood Rage, which enhances all your basic attacks, supercharging your blade arms and also increasing the damage of your guns as well. Moving on to the next ability, your Aura Vision. Similar to the Detective Vision, this would be your second sight, so to speak, to highlight enemies and also key points of interest as well, along with some of your familiar abilities that you have had in the previous games, along with some brand new ones. Another big aspect of your gameplay is your weapons, starting with your guns. Now, how Blood Rain 1 handled your guns being overpowered as hell, Blood Rain 2 actually gave it a trade-off tying your blood to the ammo of your weapons, which I actually thought was pretty cool. The problem was the shooting was 10 times worse than the first game, and also the lock-on was dog shit. So your guns will be slightly tweaked in this game, fusing both Blood Rain 1 and also 2's systems together. This time around, obviously you have 4 crucial guns that you can use. Similar to Devil May Cry 5, you can switch between them, each one having its own unique strengths and weaknesses in combat on how you can actually use it, being able to use it for key strategies when it comes to certain enemies. Starting with basic pistols, these will be pretty much your chip damage, but they obviously are weaker to use. Now, moving on to the shotgun, obviously it's for close-up large attacks, being able to blow back enemies and also create massive damage, but not very good at a distance. Obviously, your Blood Dragons will return operating off of a very similar system to Blood Rain 2, but slightly being tweaked when it comes to its trade-off, basically sacrificing your rage or your health to charge its ammo. But depending on what you sacrifice, it actually makes its ammo uniquely different. Think of it as a combination of Dr. Faust and also Dante's pistols with a little bit of Nero's Blue Rose mixed in there. These particular guns can do a lot of damage, but it does come at a cost. As for the final gun, I don't really know. It could be the middle ground for all 3 different styles of guns. Now, moving on to your melee weapons, obviously you do have your blade arms that are returning from the previous games. Now, having the ability to actually retract and also being used a little bit differently, they would be practically how they were in the previous games, but actually being a lot more smoother and a lot more badass to use. Moving on to some other melee weapons, she could get an axe or some other various stuff, but I really couldn't come up with anything that could really fit Rayne's character and still work within the combat. And speaking of, let's actually get into that. Combat would be a fusion of what we've already got from previous Blood Rain games, but also expanding on what we got as well. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of influence from various other titles and really make it its own unique experience as a hack and slash. Obviously, Rayne's combat will be acrobatic, but also brutal as well, but also being able to kill enemies and drain them as well and not be locked to a grab animation. Obviously, you do have the ability to block enemies, but if you perfectly block enemies, you can turn that into a counter and then a counter kill. Specifically depends on how you're using your block. If you're being surrounded, it's not going to work. Obviously, like the previous games, you do have the ability to use Rayne's acrobatics to avoid enemies, but also you have the ability to use her acrobatics actually in your combat as well, not just avoiding enemies. You're able to use her acrobatics to actually kill enemies as well. You can dodge one, use them to jump off of an enemy into another strike and kill. Also, this time around, you also have your air combat, being able to slice up enemies in the air or use your chain to bring them up in the air to extend more combos. The more brutal you are and the more kills you get and the less damage you take, the more XP that you can earn for abilities and also upgrades. So environmental kills will actually make a return and have more of a purpose, and also you will have your lot more kill animations depending on what weapons you use and also how you kill them and the ways you go about it. Draining enemies of their blood to fill up your blood meter obviously will be a lot more refined than it has been. You can, just like in the original games, lock onto an enemy, grab them, and bite them, and use them as a human shield, just like the OG games, but it is a little bit clunky, so I have added on to this by allowing you to drain while in combat. Basically, you can kill an enemy, depending on how you kill them, you can still drink their blood while they're gushing or they're headless or stuff like that. It's a feature that I'm surprised was never in the original games, by allowing you to kill enemies, and if you cut off their head or cut off a certain body part, that blood can splatter back on you and you can drink it to refuel your blood gauge in small amounts. This way you're not constantly having to grab an enemy and bite them to do a full recharge in combat. It's like a mini recharge. This way it doesn't completely halt your combat in a lot of ways. Also, the combat system does challenge you to use different strategies on enemies, not just being brutal and using your blade arms all the time. Sometimes you will have to use other weapons and your guns in combo succession. And knowing when to use your abilities for quick combo attacks and other special abilities as well will be a crucial benefactor, especially combo abilities like slowing down time, sending out a blood storm, and also sending out a swarm of bats. That's neither here nor there. Really hope you guys liked this video if you guys did enjoy it, and also if you don't enjoy it and it's not for you, I don't mind, hit the dislike button. And if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload. I know you guys hear that a lot, but it actually does help out the channel and me. Let me know some of your ideas and also your own thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to hear them. Make sure to have a good rest of your day, morning, afternoon, night, or whatever it is for you in the world, and peace out. Bye-bye!